All right, so we want to get into it. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 20. That was my question. How many laws do we have in the Bible? I should say a lot of hands. How many laws do we have in the Bible? Y'all went over this here? Okay. Let's see. I wanted to figure his name out. Brother next to Kyle, yeah. Trying to remember the brother's name. There's a lot of brothers remember.
Brother Hakeem.
Brother Rakeem. How many laws do we have in the Bible?
613.
613. Sounds like a lot, right? Sounds like a lot of commandments, right? 613. You're like, how many? Which ones are done? Okay, how many categories can we put these laws in?
Hey, write this down. Write these points down.
Brother Malik, how many categories can we put these laws in? I didn't see your hand, brother. I got you. Brother
Shalom, leadership.
What's your name again, brother? Malik. Oh, Malik. You got two Malik. That's why you were okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, we got another Malik up here, bro. No, right up here. You got two Maliks.
It's 5.
5, right? And you was ready to answer that question?
Hey, can you name them?
Take a shot? Huh?
I'm going to see if you can name them.
Oh, yeah. I was going to see if you can name them. You want to name them? You know what they are? 5 categories? All right, let's get back to Malik. What are the 5 categories? Think about them. 5 categories of the law.
Okay, it's the okay. Damn, man. Oh man. It's marriage or what is this?
No,
I'm brain shy.
Okay. All right. Give Brother Mark. Let me get Brother Mark.
Civil,
dietary,
sacrificial,
ceremonial,
and I forget the last one. You ain't getting off the hook like that.
One more time. Go through it one more time.
Civil, sacrificial, dietary.
Name them out one more time.
Moral.
Say it one more time so we just...
Civil, sacrificial, dietary, moral, and civil. I think I said that twice. I think.
All right, one more time, just so it's clear. One more time.
Civil, sacrificial,
dietary,
ceremonial, and moral.
That's it? Okay. That's the 5 categories. So we have 613 laws. They are intermingled within the 5 categories. Y'all with me? Sisters, y'all with me? All right. Now, the reason why we're going through this, because a lot of people will say, they'll throw this out there. There's over 613 laws in the Bible. How you keep all of them? This is why we're not supposed to be keeping God's commandments. It's impossible to keep them. Actually, no. If you actually simplify the laws and breaking them down into those 5 categories, and then going into those categories, breaking them down the laws down even further, like one, for example, thou should not steal, correct? How many laws do we have about stealing in different situations on how to deal with it? How many laws? Just throw a number out. What happens if a thief is caught in your house? Yaziel. What happens if a thief is caught in your house?
He's put to death. What?
That's not necessarily the judgment for him, but
if you catch him, I think it said something like if you catch him in the morning, if the morning catches him there, I thought it was put to death or you put harm to him or something like that.
Right. That's just what happened. That's what happened in the house. He was put to death, right?
Yeah.
Now, if the sun be risen upon the thief, right, and he got some stuff and he's no longer at your house, and you find that person, what is that then called?
Oh, no, you can't go after him at that point.
What is it called? Use today's term. What is it called?
Oh, like the statute of limitations is up.
Right, but what kind of law is it? What kind of law would you be? Not kind of law, but what would you be doing? What kind of murder would it be doing?
Oh, that would be premeditated murder.
Premeditated murder, right? Now, if you found this brother, you know he stole it. What was he supposed to do?
Supposed to take it to the judges.
He's supposed to take it to the judges, and what happens to that brother after that?
They judge it accordingly based on the crime he committed.
How many laws that we just discussed just now?
About 3 of them.
You know, if you kept thou shalt not steal, you just kept 3 laws right in there. The laws of thou shalt not commit adultery. How many laws do we have on fornication? Just throw a number out. How many? By 35? How many else? By 50? 40? They're going. How many? How many laws we have that's dealing with fornication? Anybody can answer it. You know what you got to do? Go back to Leviticus and just count the verses. So how many laws do we have that deals with fornication? How many laws? How many? 30, right? Well, let's count it back up because it's telling you, and some of it we'll just say 30, right? We'll just say 30 to 25. You know, if you kept thou shalt not commit adultery, you know you just kept all 25 laws? How many laws deals with idolatry? We're going to read some of these laws. I just want to see where y'all at with it. How many laws deal with idolatry? Just count them in your head. Okay. Do not bring any unclean abomination into thy house. That's the law, Deuteronomy. Thou shalt not bow down to worship any graven images. Thou shalt not make a grove. Back then it was a grove near the temple. That was the third law. And what else? Graven images, yeah. It's so many. It's just trying to. How many laws? Just throw a number out there. How many laws? I hear somebody. I can't make out what you're saying. Huh? You said 30? Who said that? Where do we find them at?
Exodus 20, verse 4, I believe.
Exodus 20, verse 4?
Let me double check.
Okay, so that's where we read the law in the Ten Commandments. Find me the different examples about idolatry.
I'm going to have to pass on that one.
Okay. Yaziel? Deuteronomy chapter 5. Let's get that real quick. Five. Yeah, it's going into this. All right, hold on. Okay, we'll come back to it. Let's get to it. 1 Samuel 73. That's one. Let's go to 2nd Ezra. Let's just read it. We ain't gonna have much time.
2nd Ezra chapter 7 verse 20. For there be many that perish in this life, because they despise the law of God that is set before them.
It says, there be many that perish in this life because they despise the law of God and that is set before them. Read on, 21.
For God hath given straight commandments to such as came, what they should do to live even as they came.
See,
And
the reason why we want to read and hone in and understand verse 21, because he said he gave these commandments for us to live, right? Why is it today that they flip these laws and say the laws put you under constraint? And God said, no, my commandments are love. No, the laws subject you to be a servant. You don't have the freedom. God ain't put us under servitude. He wants us to be free. So that's where we have free will to worship him where we want. With the laws, we got constraint because you can't do this, you can't eat that, you can't go here, you can't wear this. They put the laws in the category of constraint or servitude or slavery, but God said they love. What we want to do today is go through the laws and actually show you that these laws were given so we can have some type of peace amongst us, so we can live forever, and also that we can also order our way right and even actually live a healthy life, live a healthy marriage life. Okay, to raise your children right. How is these laws now turned to where it's a form of slavery? We're going to go through some of these laws, like even a woman wearing pants, sowing the field with diverse sorts, wearing diverse garments. Why did God institute these laws? Because people will look at it and say, you mean to tell me this law is going to keep me out of the kingdom of heaven? How is that love? We're going to find out why did God put them in place. He said, these are the commandments which should give you life, what they should do to avoid punishment. Read again, verse 21.
for God hath given straight commandment to such as came.
To such as came. Straight commandments. Read on.
What they should do to live.
What we should do to live. Read on.
Even as they came.
Even as they came. Read on.
And what they should observe to avoid punishment.
Now, from there, let's go to the book of Exodus 25, verse 12. Even such as came, and what we should do to avoid punishment. Exodus chapter 25, let's read verse 12.
The book of Exodus, chapter 25, verse 12.
I'm sorry, 24, verse 12.
24, verse 12. And the Lord said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law and commandments which I have written.
You see how he separated these things? Because people just think Moses went up there just for 10 commandments. He says, I will give thee tables of stone, and a law and commandments which I have written. Read on.
That thou mayest teach them.
That thou mayest teach them. Who them? The Israelites. Let's go from that to the second precept. Exodus 34, verse 28. Moses was up there for 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't write within that time span just 10 commandments. He also received the time of Revelations. He received the time of Genesis to write down. In his time, even he wasn't even doing the time of Genesis. So where do you think he got the information? When he was in the mountain of God, and he wrote the book of Genesis according to the things that he heard. He also wrote our time period, what we suffer in afflictions, us going over in cargo slave ships. Moses was going through all of this when he was in the mount with God. What happened to us in our time period? What happened to us before his time period? Before we were called the nation of Israel. He went through all of that. But we're dealing with the commandments first. Let's go to that real quick, 34 and verse 28.
The book of Exodus, chapter 34, verse 28. And he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water.
So Moses was up there fasting 40 days and 40 nights. Read on.
And he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant.
The words of the what?
The covenant.
The covenant consists of everything that we did under the first covenant, dealing with the temple, dealing with the laws of sacrifice, dealing with the laws of cleanliness. Moses received all of these, and he wrote it on the commandment. He wrote it on the tables of stone. So it wasn't just 10. He had in other places the ordinances that we were supposed to keep. Read on.
The 10 commandments.
So not only did he have the words of the covenant, he has also the 10 commandments. I want you to jump from that to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 16. It had also on it the 10 commandments. Deuteronomy 30, verse 16.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 16. In that I command thee this day to love the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes.
So right there, Moses was telling you how to love your Lord, the Lord your God. He said, keep all his ways and his commandments. Read on.
And his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply. And the Lord thy God shall bless thee in the land whither thou goest to possess it.
So it's not a form of servitude if he's going to bless you by keeping these commandments. It's a servitude if you ain't keeping these commandments. He says, he that sinneth is a servant of sin. That's what Christ said. The Lord was trying to make us free by giving us these laws. Some would say, well, how could the law make you free? We're going to go into it. We're going to read how these commandments, actually God was looking out for us when he instituted certain laws. Let's read on.
But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land whither thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it.
Read on, verse 19.
I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death.
What was the life? Hold that real quick. He said, I set before you life and death. What was the life? Let's get 2 Ezra 14, verse 30. What was the life? 2 Ezra 14, verse 30.
The book of 2 Ezra, chapter 14, verse 30.
Read verse 28.
28. Hear these words, O Israel. Our fathers at the beginning were strangers in Egypt, from whence they were delivered. And ye received received the law of life.
We received the law of life. Read on.
Which they kept not, which ye also have transgressed after them.
So the life that we received was the commandments that we received from Moses. That was the life. Death was the breaking of God's commandments. So actually the law makes you free. Let's go back to that Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19 again. So is the law a bad thing? No, God forbid. Let's go back to that.
Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death.
The law, statutes, and commandments, life and death, the curses if you broke the commandments, or death that followed behind the curses. Read on.
Blessing and cursing.
Bless if you keep the commandments, curse if you didn't keep it. Read on.
Therefore, choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live.
Last one, let's get 1 John chapter 5, verse 3, and then we go into the laws. 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3.
The book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 3.
Start at verse 1.
The book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 1. Whosoever believeth that Jesus is the Christ is born of God. And everyone that loveth him that begat, loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children. By this we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and keep his commandments.
Verse 3.
For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
And his commandments are not grievous. For that is the definition of love according to the Bible. It says, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. But what happened in today's world, these pastors have flipped it upside down to where they think now that you keeping commandments is actually hatred. Why would you tell your wife she got to wear a dress? You know she want to wear pants. You see what you causing in the house. You causing confusion. And you upsetting your household by trying to force her to wear a dress when God said it's okay, when God died on the cross. They try to put these thoughts out there so you can say you trouble, so you can think you troubling your house by trying to institute God's commandments. Trying to get you to think that you're doing something wrong because you depriving your children of Christmas. When you keep Christmas, that's a form of idolatry. what you're doing is spiritually sacrificing your children to Moloch. Back then, they burnt them literally. They put them through the fire to sacrifice unto these gods. Nowadays, you have them celebrate Christmas. You give them candy and surprises and all this type of stuff. But you're really actually destroying their spirit. And when God comes, He actually going to destroy them physically. You're suffering. You're causing your children to go through the wrath. It says, "Suffer not the wrath upon your children." Y'all remember that scripture in Ephesians? Suffer not your children the wrath. That's what you're doing when you actually getting your children to sacrifice the devils by keeping Christmas. The world has flipped that upside down and says the laws of God are hatred. You doing these things, allowing your wife to wear a pair of pants, or you allow your children to keep Christmas, that's actually the love. No, they're telling you to serve Satan. But let's go into some of these laws. He says the laws are not grievous. So why did He set them into place and say they tell you they're not grievous? What was the point of them? Let's go to real quick. Let's go to the book of Exodus chapter 21. Let's deal with some moral laws. Let's deal with moral laws.
Hey, Kevin,
Yep.
yeah, quick question. Now, they'll tell you that Christ died so that we don't have to keep the laws, right?
Right.
So we just read that we were given these laws, right, for our benefit. So that's like any father in here that's raising up children, got a wife. Would you go and say, you know what, I'm going to die for y'all so that y'all don't have to listen to nothing I say no more?
Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. Will you get that one Deuteronomy?
I got the Exodus.
Exodus.
Which one you want first?
Oh, I want to go into Exodus 21, verse 28. That makes no sense at all. He died so you can sin.
The book of Exodus.
And here's the thing about the Christian church. You ask them, you ask them this question. This is what, when y'all run into these brothers and sisters that are in Christianity, ask them, can we sin and go to the kingdom of heaven? Just ask them that. Can we sin and go to the kingdom of heaven? They are going to tell you no. They know that. But then when you ask them, okay, so what is sin? And then you break it down and say, well, sin is a transgression of God's laws. So that means I can't be a sinner. You said that yourself. So I have to be applying God's commandments. What they are going to do, they're going to start, what do you call that? No, what's that?
Oh,
They going to start trying to speak in
tongues.
tongues. and tell you to pray on the Spirit. They cannot answer that question. So you mean to tell me we're supposed to be keeping God's commandments? They're going to say, no, that's not what I say. Well, so what is sin? You telling me I cannot be a sinner and go to the kingdom of heaven. So you're actually telling me to keep God's commandments. It doesn't make sense. That is an oxymoron when you say that we can not be sinners and we don't not have to keep God's commandments. What is the definition of sin, brothers? What is the definition of sins? Say it out loud. Okay, and what scripture is it? 1 John 3 and 4 tells you what? For sin is the what? For sin is the transgression of the law. So that's how you challenge the Christian. Can I be a sinner and can I make it to the kingdom of heaven? If they trying to challenge you on whether or not you should keep God's commandments, ask them that one question. Can I be a sinner and make it to the kingdom of heaven? Then you trap them in that. So you mean to tell me I got to keep God's commandments? There ain't no way around that. It doesn't make any sense. Let's go from that real quick. Let's go to the book of Exodus 21. The law, statutes, and commandments, they deal with life all the way around. What do I mean by that?
Exodus chapter 21, verse 28.
We're dealing with animals on how the law was actually given so we can take care of animals, all right? The laws they deal with every aspect of life. This is why he said they are life. Let's read that real quick. 28, verse 28.
If an ox gore a man or a woman, that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten. But the owner of the ox shall be quit.
So this specific law is going into an ox that not had a reputation at this point. An ox that just happened to get out, right? Say, for instance, you had a farm, right? And your ox got out the gate. You were in the house. You had no idea the ox got out. And it actually gored you, right? and it penetrated his side, the ox would be stoned. Now, the reason why you had the ox, so your family can eat. The ox had to be killed, and the ox had to be stoned, and you cannot eat of the flesh of the ox. That was a law set in place. Because the ox was at fault, not you. There was no punishment for you, but the ox had to die because it jeopardized this brother's life. Right? These were the laws that were set in place. What's so wrong about keeping this law? Why is it so bad to say this is a servitude? This is actually dealing with justice. The brother got hurt by your ox. Something got to be dealt with. The ox got to be put to death. You can't eat of it. It's not your fault, but the ox got to go. These were the type of laws that God set in place. Isn't that justice? Be quick. We got a lot to go through.
Just to say, Esau knows the law because say a dog attacks someone, they take it and then they'll kill it.
The dog get put down, right? Same law. That's why they call it the judicial system. They take certain laws of our Bible. That's why they can't. It's impossible for them to say the Bible is a fairy tale. So why are you using it? Don't use none of our laws. Stay out of it. Don't use none of it. Let's go to let's read on verse 29.
Verse 29. But if the ox were wont to push with his horns in time past.
Now, if the ox, in this situation, you known of the ox, had a reputation of pushing against you, and he's still alive, and now he got out the fence, and now it deals with it. Read on.
And it hath been testified to his owner, and he have not kept him in.
Now, your ox got out, and your neighbors come to you and say, look, brother, your ox got out again. It's running my children home every day. You need to put this thing up. And they came to you constantly. Now it got to the point where this ox did more than just chase the kids around the block. It actually gored somebody's child. And you known of it, at past time the ox had a problem. Read on.
The ox shall be stoned, and his owner shall be put to death.
Because you known they had a problem, and you knew nothing about it. Now you jeopardize somebody else's child, and they lost their life because you was irresponsible. These are the type of laws that we had in place. This is why he said these laws are life. If any situation was to happen like this, this is how you take care of it. This was not servitude. This was not a form of slavery. This is how you handled issues, legal issues back then. This was peace in the community. Read on.
Verse
not
30.
Peace for the owner, but it's peace in the community. Read on.
Verse 30. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him.
Read on.
Whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done unto him.
So not only did the brother got gored, you got to pay him some type of funds. Because for one, he might be out of work. He can't go back to work to provide for his family. So what you did, you paid him his labor. Read on.
If the ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned.
Read on. So
and
the same situation, but just dealing with servants in that point. Read on.
And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit, and not cover it, an ox or an ass fall therein, then the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his.
So this was going into the another case where, say for instance, in your backyard or your field that you own, your property that you own, and it was just, a pathway that was not fenced off, people just wandered through it, and you digged a hole there, and somebody actually fell into it, or somebody's animal actually fell into it. This dealt with those type of situations. This man's beast came into your property and he fell inside your hole, right? You didn't cover it up. You got to pay that. Read the law. Read the law. The law speaks for itself. I should just read it.
Verse 35. And if one man's ox hurt another's.
Verse 34.
34. The owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money unto the owner of them.
You have to pay the owner for the ox that he lost. Read on.
And the dead beast shall be his.
And you get to keep the beast that's in the hole. Because it's your hole, your beast now. Read on.
And if one man's ox hurt another's, that he die, Then shall he sell the live ox and divide the money of it. And the dead ox also they shall divide.
Okay, read again.
And if one man's ox hurt another's that he die, then they shall sell the live ox and divide the money of it. And the dead ox also shall they divide.
Now, with this one situation, both of the owners broke even, right? You going back to the first situation, if your ox got out, you had no idea they got out. In this case, the ox got out and it gored another ox. The other ox got into a confrontation with the other one. The two owners would divide the first ox and sell it as meat. Well, they would sell the livestock for money, and they divide the money between the two parties. And then the dead beast, they divided that as meat to eat between the two families. So both owners broke even with that. The laws, once again, showing you some justice between your neighbors. Imagine if we didn't have this law in place. Like your ox gored mine. You got to give me some money for this, and I want yours. Now that brother got hatred for you because you took his ox, and you got your dead ox to eat. That wouldn't be nothing for him to left. It wasn't his fault that his ox got out. It would cause murder in the land. It would cause hatred in the land. This is what God was trying to institute. So when he established these laws, it was actually for our help. It was life. Read on.
Verse 36. Or if it be known that the ox hath used to push in time past, and his owner hath not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own.
So if the owner did know about it, same situation we're dealing with somebody, if it penetrated somebody live, a person, the man that owned that ox, that slain the other owner's ox, the man that had the live ox that's alive, the one that killed the ox, he has to pay the person that owned the dead ox, and he had to give him the ox that killed him. He had to give him the meat and also the ox himself. So he had livestock and also the dead. You understand that? Y'all understand that? Is it clear? Sisters, y'all clear with that? Let's go to some more. That's dealing with animals, different situations like that. That's what you call moral laws. How to govern. This is just the way of life. This is how it went down. This is what it was. You had animals. This is how you dealt with it with your neighbor in these type of situations. That's a moral law. Let's get some more.
Yeah, I thought that was a civil. That's because that's dealing with, that's restitution.
Right. That's a neighbor, between your neighbor. Civil dealing with let's get the definition real quick. Pull up civil and moral. Moral goes into just how you dealt with your neighbor as far as your mannerism, just how you carried yourself, period. Civil law goes into... Yeah, it's jacked up. It's that one right behind you, too.
Come on, man.
They not on the tape, that's why.
Because, we done learned being here in captivity under Esau. Esau will tell you, well, look like my ox was tougher than yours.
Right. God, he made peace between that thing. Right. Listen, and then we're going to get moral law, too. I like that one that you had before you got to there. Go back out. That right there.
The ox wasn't quick enough to get out.
Civil law, the system of law concerned with private relation between the members of a community rather than criminal, military, religious affairs. So this is how you dealt with situations like this within your community. Yeah, your different lawsuits or whatnot. Let's go to moral.
Because it was restitution. That's
Now, moral deals with it says an absolute principle defining the criteria of a right action, whether conceived or as a divine ordinance or truth of reason. So that's a moral law we just read. That's a moral law we just read. All right, let's go to some more. I think we had Exodus 20. Let's go into 22. 22:1.
The book of Exodus, chapter 22, verse 1. If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep.
It says, if a man steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he should restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for. It's better not to steal. You're gonna be broke.
Right.
For 1 ox, you are gonna be in debt. Read it again.
If a man steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen.
So for 1, you got to store 5. Read on.
For an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep.
4 sheep for 1 sheep. Read on.
If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him.
So if a thief was in your house and you just happen to come in there and you have your weapon, right? Back then, back then, he got put to death because he was in your house caught stealing. He startled you. You opened fire or whatever the case may be. You stabbed him or whatever back then. There was no blood. There was no punishment for you being the owner. He broke into your house. He was at fault. He died. There was no punishment for you. Read on.
If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him. For he should make full restitution if he have nothing. Then he shall be sold for his theft.
Now, if the sun be risen upon him, now this brother is going out of your house and you realize, okay, I know who did this. And you go try to find this brother and you put him to death, then what was the law? Read it verse 2 again, 3 again.
If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him. For he should make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft.
So that's when the owner was in jeopardy because he pursued this brother. Now that's premeditated murder. The sun be risen upon him. He went and pursued this brother. That's manslaughter. That's premeditated murder. Then he going to have to make full restitution. They actually do this today. Even if you, matter of fact, they do this if the thief was caught broken up. Like it's all backwards today. Like there was a brother, it was in the case, somebody broke into his house. The person died. The person got shot. And then the family sued him for what was that? What kind of law is that? It was a law. They had some type of policy where the family can still sue you, even though the thief was in the wrong. He came in there armed robbery, and you get sued because you protected your family. It was a civil law. What kind of? It's some kind of law though. It's a name for it. It's a civil law, but what kind of name is it? And the devil? What? Wrongful death? I thought it was something else. Right, that's another one. That's a jacked up one right here. If he climbs through your window and get cut, this is a guy that actually tried to sue for this mess too. He climbed through the window and got cut and then tried to sue the family for him getting cut from breaking in through their window. I don't understand it. They say, well, you can, but they can't be fleeing from you. They can't be fleeing from you.
Unless you Jake.
Yeah, unless you Jake. But, yeah, the laws are all jacked up here. It's all jacked up. The guy actually got away with that thing, too. He tried to sue the family because he got cut on the glass. He broke and tried to get in their house. Yeah. That's something simple, man. I wish you could pull it up. Let's read on.
So what you're saying is you can't kill them. You just gotta try to beat them into a coma so that they can't remember what they was doing at your house, huh?
Well, if we're gonna bring it up to today's laws and talk about it, if he actually gets shot and he gets, he's in front of you, you shoot him dead on, and he startled you, you pretty much walk away from that. But if he tries to flee your house and he's out the front door and you open fire, you go to jail for that.
Right.
Yeah, you go to jail for that. So he can actually look back at you with your stuff and say, yeah.
Right.
Shoot now. Yeah, he can do that.
Verse 4.
That's the laws in this land. Hey, I didn't make them. Read verse 4.
Verse 4. If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double.
So if the thief got caught and the man didn't kill him, that man got to restore double. The thief got to repay double. Read on.
If a man shall cause a field or a vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, he shall feed in another man's field of the beast of his own field. Of the best field of his own field, and of the best of his own vineyard shall he make restitution.
So we're going back to the state of the animals, dealing with animals. If your animal got out and it started going to another man's field and eat of his field, then you got to take the best of your field and give it to that owner of the field. Right? Now read on.
If fire break out and catching thorns, so that the stacks of corn or the standing corn or the field be consumed therewith, he that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution.
So if somebody set a fire and they happen to jeopardize your crops from growing because of the fire that was started, the person that started the fire has to pay you full restitution of every piece of grain you lost in that field. Every square inch that you lost of your vineyard, they got to pay back. Right? So let's go get another one. Those are moral laws. Again, those are moral laws. Well, next one, read the next one.
Verse 7. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double.
Okay. This right here can still be applied today.
Yep.
If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods.
So verse 7, it says, if a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, like, okay, for instance, right? Uriel, brother Isaiah's. Uriel gave you some stuff and said, look, I'm going out of town. I just want you to hold this for me. I'm not going to be home. I don't feel comfortable with it in the house. Can you hold this for me? I'll be back in a couple of days to get it from you. Right? And it says, and if the man should deliver his stuff or money to you to keep, if it be stolen out of your house, and if the thief be found, he got to pay double. Now, this is a situation outside of y'all two. Whoever was caught stealing your stuff, Uriel, out of Isaiah's house, that thief got to pay for your stuff. You don't got nothing to do with this. That's between you and the thief. Now, verse 8.
Verse 8. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods.
Now, if the thief ain't found nowhere, nobody ain't seen nothing. Nobody ain't in the community ain't heard and ain't seen nothing, right? Now the situation between y'all two. The thief is not found. How can we deal with this? People, we both believe in God. How can we deal with this so we can be at peace? We go to the judges. Y'all go to the judges. The thief ain't found, so this is how y'all work it out. Read verse 8 again.
Verse 8. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods.
This is how y'all work it out. The thief ain't found. Now the judges will determine whether or not whether or not you touch this brother's stuff. We can't find a thief. That only leaves you as a suspect. We got to find out, okay, when the last time you've seen such and such? The last time, where did you put it in the house? When the last time you seen it in the house? The interrogation would go on, right? So that's the situation would happen with that. To see if he put his hand towards his neighbor's stuff. If he did, he didn't. Let's read on. Verse 9.
Verse 9. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner.
Now I got a question. what's so hard about these laws? Is that restraint? Like, is that servitude? Is that something that you wouldn't want to keep? Like, it actually made peace, right? Made peace in the land to where you would just be okay with your neighbor. What's so wrong about these laws? There's not one wrong thing about them. That's why God said the laws are good. Read on.
Verse 9. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challengeth to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges. And whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor.
Now, there's another situation deal with a lost and found situation, right? Both of you had something similar. Let's see. Another situation. Brother Jonathan and Brother Michael had an iPhone, right? No, not an iPhone. Let's use something else. Both of y'all had the Rams on, right? And y'all both lost it. You lost yours and he lost his. But you seen one at the school. Like, that's mine. No, brother, that's mine. I remember I had this mark right here. No, but I remember I had right here. And I cut this shorter because I remember I wanted to use it a little better and I couldn't blow it right, so I cut it. But that's mine. I can tell how I cut it right there. But no, brother, that's my mark right there. You know what? We go to the judges to figure this out. So what y'all would do, it says both would go to the read verse 9 again.
Verse 9. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or any manner of lost thing, which another challengeth to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges. And whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor.
So the judges would listen to both sides. Okay, all right. Set these two men aside. You say you had yours. When the last time you seen your Rams on? Well, I left it at the school, and I know I had left it because I was running in haste. School closed down early. I just left it there. And the other brother, okay, we'll come to you later. The other brother, well, what did you leave yours at? I left it on my car. I left it outside, and I just know when I came back to the school, I know when stuff is left behind, brothers put brother stuff up back inside of the school. It might have been put back in lost and found. Well, you can't necessarily say it's yours. Yours might have been taken outside. How can you say somebody might have put your stuff in the school? You know what? That's the other brothers. Give it to him. That's how they would deal with those situations. They would weigh the matters and see who would be telling the truth in the situation. Right? You understand that? Let's read on.
Verse 10. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass or an ox or sheep or any beast to keep it, and it die, or be hurt, or driven away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of the Lord be between them both.
Okay, now this right here, you won't want to touch this one. It says, if a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass or an ox or a sheep or any beast to keep it, and it die or be hurt, or driven away, and no man seeing it. Read on.
Then shall an oath of the Lord be between them both, that he have not put his hand unto his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and he shall not make it good.
So if you happen to have a beast and you don't know what happened to it, this man might have killed my ox or killed my sheep. He didn't feed it, or he overfed it. Something happened. I just know I left it to him. Now you two have to go before the Lord and make an oath. Lord, I didn't touch this man's ox. He's accusing me of it. I pray that we can get past this. I pray the brother forgive me. I know I didn't touch it. And the other man says the same thing. Lord, if this brother's dead, I pray that you forgive him. Both of y'all making an oath. And then nobody has to make that situation good because nobody knows. But y'all went to the Lord to inquire of it. Now it's between you and the Lord. So if you did kill that brother's ox, the Lord going to deal with you harshly. That ain't dealing with no judges. The judge will try to make it right. So if it's yours, then okay, if you killed the ox, just get a brother an ox, man. You killed his ox. You overfed it. You didn't feed it. Get a brother an ox. Okay, you didn't kill it. Okay, then it is what it is. The brother say he didn't kill it. That's how it would have went down between the judges. When you take it to God, God, he knows the truth. He knows whether or not you killed this man's ox or not. It's best for you not to even fall into this situation. So if you did it, you just make good what you have what you jeopardize. The man's ox is dead, just pay for it. That's an oath between the Lord. Read on.
Verse 12. And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner thereof.
Now, the ox is still alive and the ox is stolen. The person who it was lent to, he got to make restitution because it should have been more of a responsibility. Like, okay, I give you the ox, brother, to keep. What happened to it? I don't know. What you mean you don't know? I gave it to you yesterday. Like, well, I'm coming back for it. Like, what was it? I had it in the gate. Was the gate locked? This is how it would have went down. You know, they would have went through these type of situations. Okay, it was taken from your house, your possession. You say he's going to watch it. I need this back. I need you to pay for this. I need you to pay for this ox back because I got to feed my family. The brother got to pay for an ox. He was in his hands. He's supposed to take full responsibility of it. He got to pay the brother back for the ox that was stolen. Read on.
Verse 13. If it be torn in pieces, then let him bring it for witness, and he shall not make good that which was torn.
Read on. Now dealing with situation to be torn by beasts. Read on.
And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor,
meaning he ain't got to make good that which was torn, because that right there, you can't control what another animal does to another animal. That's out of your hands. So in that case, you see your ox laying on the ground and it has a gash in the side, you know it came from another animal, then that's just out of your hands. Plus, if the owner had animals, he couldn't control what his animals did to yours. It just is what it is at that point. You don't have to make it good. Read on.
And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, and it be hurt or die, the owner thereof, being not with it, he shall surely make it good.
Okay, going into the same situation as verse 11. Read on.
But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good, if it be an hired thing. It came for his hire.
Okay, now let's drop that. Let's go to Deuteronomy 22. Let's read verse 6 and 7. Deuteronomy 22, 6 and 7.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22, verse 6.
Now this deals with animals as well, as far as now how to take care of your animals. We dealt with your neighbors on if something would have happened between the two neighbors with your animal, but now this deals with your personal animal and how you deal with it. Or just animals in period. Read this real quick. Verse 6.
Deuteronomy 22, verse 6. If a bird's nest chance to be before thee in the way.
So now we're just talking about any random animal. God even gave laws on how to deal with animals. Read on.
In any tree or on the ground, whether they be young ones or eggs, and the dam sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, thou shalt not take the dam with the young.
So it's saying if you were to go out and you seen a bird's nest right in the way, and the dam, meaning the mother of those eggs, right, sitting upon her eggs, you cannot take the mother and the eggs. You either take the eggs, leave the mother, or you take the mother and leave the eggs. This would what's the word I'm looking for?
Extinct.
This would reserve the animals. This would actually save the animal's life. We wouldn't have case of extinction. How you say that word?
Extinction.
Extinction?
Yeah.
Extinction? Extinction, right? Extinction.
Yeah.
Extinction.
That law actually
We got some articles we want to pull up.
is still in place because there's some beaches you can go on and some reserves down here in Florida where they'll have signs. Like I remember being on a beach one time and it was a nest that some bird that's on I guess the endangered species list had chicks right there on the beach. And they put yellow tape, like caution tape around it and put a sign. And it's like a $10,000 fine if you disturb the nest. So that law, Esau still got that law in place because, they care more about animals anyway than Jake. But
Yeah, the storks be out there.
yeah.
So let's go to that real quick. So we have an article. You could, like I said, you could choose either one, soldier. A black rhino. I can't see it, so you got to read it. Okay.
Okay, this is the black rhino. This animal is actually extinct now, but this is made a couple of years before. But it started off by, this is the overview. It said European hunters are responsible for the early decline of black rhino populations. It was not uncommon for the 5 or 6 rhinos to be killed in a day for food or simply for amusement. European settlers that arrived in Africa in the early 20th century to colonize the established farms and plantations continued this senseless slaughter. Most people regarded rhinos as vermin and exterminated them at all costs.
So this black rhino that y'all see on the screen, this is actually no longer in existence because of Esau. And also a low count of silverback gorillas because he killed them as well and put them in museums. Right? So the law that we just read, this would actually go against what we read today. We wouldn't have this problem back then. This is why when you read Lamentations, let's go to Lamentations real quick. Lamentations chapter 2, verse 15. I know we got more on there, but y'all get the point. A lot of these animals are going extinct because they overkill these animals just for sport. Oh, you best believe it. Lamentations 2:15.
The book of Lamentations, chapter 2, verse 15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty?
This is the reputation that we had. This is what people were actually calling us before we fell into the state of sinning. Before we went unto servitude, it says the mockery that would come behind that from these other nations saying, is this the city that it was called the city of perfection, the city of beauty? Read on.
All thine enemies.
Now, in the verse 15 again.
Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty? The joy of the whole earth?
Because back then we kept these laws, no animals were in danger. This is why they called us the joy of the earth. This is why we have to get back into our state, because even Paul came back and said it. He said it in Romans 8. Remember he said the earnest expectation of the creatures is for the manifestations of the sons of God, because the creatures are made subject to vanity. The vanity is the other nations. It says their earnest expectation. The trees, the spirit of the trees, everything that's out there, and the animals, they wait for the Israelites to get right back into their place because they had laws that protected them that we kept. So let's go back to that in Deuteronomy. So the laws that we had, they were actually life for us and also life for the animals. They actually helped. But today they are turned into something evil. God forbid you talk about the laws. They say, well, no, I don't think we should keep those because Christ died on the cross. But then you look at the laws and say, okay, so what's wrong with doing this? What's wrong with applying this? Why is that? Why does that have to be done away with? If somebody broke in my house, you mean to tell me that he has a gun? You mean to tell me I can't do nothing about it? You tell me that law is done away with? It doesn't make sense when you actually put it into that understanding. These laws God set in place to make things right. If a thief broke into your house, he knew good and well what he was doing. Somebody in the house, so somebody is in the house, so let me come in there with a gun to protect myself and get what I need up out of there. So that leaves you without solution. If the laws are done away with, you just got to stand back and let this brother, whoever, break into your house with their gun. If the laws are done away with, you understand that? It makes no sense. These laws were put into place to help you, to help us. Let's go back to Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 7. But thou shalt in any wise let the dam go, and take the young to thee.
Let the mother go and take the young to you, the eggs or the chicklings. Read on.
That it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days.
Read.
When thou buildest a new house.
Now this going into when you build a house. Now some of you might have actually seen this today. Read on.
Then thou shalt make a battlement.
A battlement. Battlement back then was actually called a parapet. I think it's pronounced it right. A parapet. Type in that word, parapet. It's P-A-R-A-P-E-T. A battlement is it's a type of ledge So if somebody was helping you work on your house, it actually secured them on the roof. If they were on the roof of your house, you had to have a battlement. It protected them from falling off your roof. Parapet. Parapet. Okay. I don't know if they have a picture of it. It says a low protective wall along the edge of a roof, bridge, or balcony. See if you got pictures. Okay, you see that? This first picture? The first picture right there? Can y'all see that? Right there, that ledge is a parapet. It's a wall blocking from anybody from falling off the roof. These were the laws that were in place. So God made it sure that your brother was safe working on your house. It protected him and it protected you. Because if the brother fell off the roof, the blood was going to be upon your hands because you didn't make the parapet. That was a law. So if you went into building a house, you had to make a parapet. Today they use these little type cages things, these little poles. Who in construction? What is that thing called, brother? A scalpel? Yep. Say it right? Scalpel. A scalpel. Today they call it a scalpel. A scalpel. Scalpel. Y'all know I'm country in my words, man. It is what it is, man. I said scalpel, right? Yeah. Scalpel. Put up a scalpel. I got, just scalpel. 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 I appreciate that. I don't speak English. I speak Hebrew. Scalpel. There it is. Scalpel. Scalpel. That's right there. That's a modern day parapet or a battlement. That's to ensure the builders that they don't fall off your roof. Go down to the second row, third one over. You see how that roof is made? Back then, the battlements were around the roof. It's impossible for you to put a battlement on that type of house because of the way it's made. So you use scaffolds so you wouldn't fall off the house. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 22, verse 8.
Deuteronomy 22, verse 8. When thou buildest a new house, then thou shalt make a battlement for thy roof, that thou bring not blood upon thine house.
Because this brother is helping you, and he got to get back on. He fell off your roof because you was irresponsible to make a battlement. There was some punishment behind that. You were supposed to make an battlement to ensure his safety. That was a law that was set in place. But again, if you look at it from the mindset of these laws shouldn't apply today, how are you helping anybody else if they were to aid you and help building your house? How does that help him? You see that it doesn't make sense with just dealing with, the laws are made to protect us. The laws were made to make things right once again. So what's so bad about them? Reading laws like this. So what is done away about this? This is what you're asking. What's done away about this? That it's a burden for us not to keep. How is the laws hard to keep? It makes no sense. Let's read verse 9. Now this is the point I wanted to get to right here. I had to get with Soldier Shia to get some thought on this. That's also another sister here that knows about it. I'm going to ask the sister a question on this too. Matter of fact, I want to, if you could, Sister Rebecca, I believe. Sister Rebecca. Right? I want to ask you a question. I asked Soldier Shai. I want to ask you a question, sis. Read verse 9.
Need a microphone. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 9. Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with divers seeds, lest the fruit of thy seed which thou hast sown and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled.
Okay, now I don't know how much experience you had in gardening, but what's your understanding on gardening? Because I know you posted pictures, right? You garden, right? How long you been doing it? Since you came into truth, so you little experience. What does this law tell us? What happens to a garden if you sow it with diverse seeds? Reason why I'm asking you, because you garden. Y'all brothers garden? Who gardens over here? Okay, Brother Michael, I'm going to come to you next. What's your take on gardening? Based on this law? No?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, it's fine if you don't know. It's fine. Brother Michael, what is the reason for this law? I got a question for you too. I'm trying to start something. We're going to try to do a class on gardening. So the Shai is going to be heading it. He got a PowerPoint. I want to see if you can put your input into it. Some of the sisters can use that. Y'all sisters want to garden, right? I know I do. I want to learn that thing.
So basically, there's like different kinds of vegetables, like tomatoes, for instance. It's not only one tomato. So if you were to grow two different breeds, I guess would be a good word, of tomatoes, and you line them up next to each other, when the fruit grows, the fruit is defiled. Because now when you take the seed from that new fruit, it's not going to replicate what it's like its parents were, if it makes sense what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you defile it through putting them together.
So the seed becomes
like hybrid.
A hybrid. So it doesn't really grow like that. You agree with that? Okay, so who else we had? Brother Judah? James, Brother James. What's your take on that, brother? You say you garden? Yes. What's some enlightenment on this first? So I might just get you to explain it, because you
got to ask the Levite.
You garden, brother? I don't garden, but I know about it. You know about it? Okay. Pass it to him, brother. The reason why we're going through this to show you that the laws were put in place for us actually to learn from it. We actually had a good life when we applied these laws.
All right. What the brother was touching on with the weed, we have certain things like the weed would choke and kill the plant. Also, speaking on the crossbreeding with the seeds, it would take away the nutrients from out of that.
Right, that's the same thing, brother.
Vegetable or whatever the case is. So
okay, and
that's the main thing.
What would happen after that?
Then it defiles the temple. We're not going to get the proper
What happened
nutrients.
to the plant?
Oh, the plant's going to die.
The plant dies. The plant dies. Y'all understand that? So, Josiah, if you could elaborate on that a little bit more. I think this is interesting. I think this is very interesting why he would put a law on this. People will look at this and like, what has that to do with salvation?
So with the hybrid, is when you plant two plants together, and it's called cross-pollination. So if you plant one tomato next to another tomato, you're not going to get the tomatoes that you plant. You're going to get a hybrid tomato. The seeds from that hybrid tomato will not sprout up the next year. So that's one thing. Also, when you plant different types of plants together, plants, they use different nutrients. So you have one plant that will take the most nutrients out the soil, and the other plant beside it is going to die. It's not going to grow because one is not going to get the soil. It's not going to get the nutrients it needs. And the other plant that's getting the nutrient is going to grow bigger, and it's going to shade the sun from the other plant, and the other plant is going to die. So that's why you shouldn't grow certain plants together.
Let's get that real quick. In Psalms chapter 119. Psalms 19.
Thank you, Levi.
19:7. All I want is the first part of that.
119 and what?
119:7.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 7. I will praise thee.
19:7.
Oh, Psalms 19 and 7. All right. I got you. The book of Psalms, chapter 19, verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect.
That's why it says the law of the Lord is perfect. Ain't nothing perverse in them. Let's jump down to verse 9.
Verse 9. The fear of the Lord.
Read verse 8.
The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart.
Rejoicing the heart, because you would expect your garden to be fruitful. You come out there and you see your plants dead because you didn't do his commandments. You're going to be highly upset. You've been out there harvesting all day and your plants don't actually grow because you broke that commandment. They are rejoicing in every way. Dealing with pants. Let's deal with that one. Deuteronomy 22 verse 5. Now, I want a sister to answer this one. I want single sister to answer this one. What helps a woman not wearing pants? What are the benefits of not wearing pants? I'll put it that way. I ain't gonna get no hands for this one, huh? What are the benefits, Sister Jen? All right, Mike coming to you. Sister Jen right here, fourth row. Fourth seat in.
Hygiene.
Hygiene. Okay, elaborate on that.
Yeast infections.
There we go. Simple as that. God was trying to help women not get yeast infections. That's very simple. Not only that, it was a form of idolatry. He's trying to keep you from death. Let's get that in the book of Baruch. Let's get that real quick. Yeast infection and also the form of idolatry. Say it on the mic. No, you gotta say it now. I'm gonna say it. Go ahead and say it. You don't want to say it? It's true.
You want me to say it?
Hey, I got it. Hey, the most I wanted that to happen because that thing got to breathe, all right? Plain and simple, all right? It got to air out. Okay?
It has to breathe. It has to air out.
That's a perfect law.
That's the problem. That's what causes yeast infection. If it's not breathing, it is going to yeast infection.
He made me say it.
Hey, it's the truth.
Shalom, Israel. I'm Elder Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. YouTube likes to shut our channels down, as some of you have noticed, ever so often. Subscribing to join IUIC will assure you will always stay connected to our YouTube accounts. We want to do our best to make sure this truth gets out. Please click and join our subscriber YouTube channel called Join IUIC to stay linked to all of our videos. So again, please make sure you subscribe to this Join IUIC channel to get your latest updates from all our YouTube channels. Shalom.